Hello, friends. Welcome you to learn physics with me. You have all just finished your 10th class and you are beginning your PUC 1 for the 11th class. There is a bit of fear in everyone's mind about how things will be. But don't worry, we will make physics very interesting and easy for you. Today, I'm going to start the session on motion in a straight line. So pay attention and all the best. Thank you. There are many examples of motion all around us. Birds flying, aircrafts flying, animals. There's a cheetah chasing a deer. There's a girl cycling to her school. There's a lady jogging, a man doing some bowling action, and even our earth going around the sun. All these are examples of motion. Motion is change in position of an object with time. At one particular time, you are here. After some time, you are somewhere else. So, this change in position with time is motion. We will develop the concepts of velocity and accelerations in these few sessions. Here, we will consider only motion along a straight line, not motion along a curve, motion around yourself, motion in a circle. It's simply motion in a straight line, which is called rectilinear motion. We will treat all the objects in motion as point objects. A car may have length, breadth, height, and huge dimensions. But for our calculations, to make our calculations simple, we'll assume that all the mass of these objects is concentrated in one point. All this study is called kinematics. And in kinematics, we will describe motion without going into the causes of motion. Like what causes the motion to start? Is someone pushing or is somebody moving on his own? How is he moving? We are not going to consider all this. We will consider all this in later sessions. Coming to position, path length, and displacement. Let us see what each of these mean. Firstly, the position. Motion is change in position of an object with time. I explained to you already. To specify a position, we need a reference point. If you simply say I am here, it means nothing. We need to specify that particular point. And from that point, how are you moving? Are you moving east, north, up, or down? Or are you moving somewhere between east and north? So to do all this, to explain all this, we need a set of axes. Now these are the axes here. The starting point is here. From here, one direction, any direction that you choose, let's call it x. Another direction that is perpendicular to this line would be y. And the third direction perpendicular to both x and y. Like if the width of this screen is x, the height of the screen is y, then the axis coming towards you, perpendicular to both x and y, is the z-axis. Now, a rectangular coordinate system, what I explained to you just now, is a rectangular coordinate system. The point of intersection of these three axes is called the origin, and that serves as the reference point for us. Now, the coordinates x, y, z of an object describe the position of that object in this coordinate system. Let us say from the origin, an object moves along the x line some 2 units, and along the y line 2 units, and along the z line 2 units. It means the coordinates of the object after it has done this motion are 2, 2, 2. So x is 2, y is 2, and z is 2. The units can be whatever you choose to measure in. Now we need to measure time because we said motion is change of position with time. Now to measure time, we need a clock. We position a clock within this system. And when we position a clock, this coordinate system with a clock is called the frame of reference. If any coordinate of the object, let's say x, y, or z, any one of them, if it changes with time, we say that the object is in motion. Description of an event depends on the chosen frame of reference. For example, when you say that a train is moving, here is a train, here is a train, and it is moving. And who is saying this? You, who is not sitting in the train. Let us say you are here outside. So you are describing the train with reference to a frame that is attached to you and to the ground. This frame is not moving. You are not moving. So with reference to you, the train is moving. But let us say there is a boy standing on this train here. When the train moves, he also moves along with the train. Now he has a reference system, reference frame, x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis, just like you have got. But when the train moves, the complete frame, the reference frame moves along with the train and the boy. So for the boy, the train appears to be at rest. If there is a huge stone, and let's say on that stone there is a small ant, you pick up this stone and you go to some other place. You have moved the stone and the ant, but as far as the ant is concerned, it has not moved. The coordinate reference system for that ant tells the ant that it is where it is. Now, to describe the motion along a straight line, I need to choose an axis. See, here is the x-axis, the y-axis, or the z-axis. Now, motion can take place along any of these axes. Now, you will say, so what if I move along this axis, this direction? Or what if I move along this direction? It is very simple. Whichever direction you are moving in, you can point any of these axes along that. Let us say I point the x-axis along that direction, and I call it the x-axis. Now, once the object moves along a particular axis, we can measure the position of the object with reference to the convenient origin. Now, let us say here in this figure, O is the origin, and this line represents the x-axis, and I have got numbers marked 40, 80, 120, 160, 200, and there's a place called Q here, and there's a place called P at 360. This could be meters, centimeters, kilometers, anything. But for our calculation, we will take them as meters. And on the left side of the origin, I've got minus 40, minus 80, and there's a place called R at minus 120. Now, it is a convention to consider all the points to the right as positive and all the points to the left as negative from the origin. So, the position coordinates of a point P. Where is point P? Point P is here. The position coordinates are plus 360. The position coordinates of Q are plus 240. Similarly, the position coordinates of R are minus 120. Now what is the path length? Consider the motion of a car along the x-axis as in this figure, whatever figure you are seeing. Now let us say the car was at x equal to 0. It was at the origin before I started the clock. At t equal to 0, the car is standing here. Now let P, Q and R be the positions of the car at different times. Let us say the car moves from O to P. So the distance moved by the car is how much? 360 meters. Now this distance which the car moved is called the path length. Now another case, let us say the car starts from O, it goes to P. How many meters it has covered? 360 meters. And from P, it goes back to Q. So it has covered first 360 meters and now it has covered backwards how many? 120 meters. So what is the path length? Path length is 360 plus 120. That is equal to 480 meters. Path length is a scalar quantity. I can move in any direction. I don't call one direction as plus and the other direction as minus. If I go to Sangli from here and then go to Kolhapur and then go to Bombay, the total distance that I travel is the path length. It has no sign. Now what is displacement? First we saw the path length. Remember these words. Displacement is the change in position. Now let x1 and x2, let x1 and x2, some x1 on this line and some x2 on this line, be the position of this car or the object at time t1 and t2. Then the displacement of the car, change in x, is denoted by delta x and the change in time is indicated by delta t. So what is the displacement of this car? Is x2 minus x1. So delta x is equal to x2 minus x1. Now delta x has both magnitude and direction. Suppose x1 was 80 and x2 was 200. So it will be 200 minus 80. It is plus 120. But let us say if x1 was 200 and x2 was 80, then what is the delta x? Delta x is equal to 80 minus 200. That is minus 120. Displacement has a magnitude as well as a direction, either plus or minus. The magnitude of displacement may not be equal to the path length traveled by an object. We will see this a little later in a little more detail because there will invariably be a question based on this. When the car moves, let us say from O to P, the length is 360 meters and the displacement is also 360. 360 minus 0, that is delta x 360. Now in this case, the path length was 360 and the displacement was also 360. Now, if the car moves from O to P and from P it moves back to Q, what is the path length? Path length is distance traveled by car 360 in this direction and 120 here. So total path length is 480 meters. But what is the initial position of the car? X1, 0. What is the final position of the car? X2, 240. So what is delta x? 240 minus 0. So the displacement is only 240 and not 480. which was the path length. The displacement may be 0, but the path length is never 0. Suppose the car starts from O, goes to P and comes back to O. The initial and final position of the car are same. So there is no displacement. Now I can represent the motion of this car or the motion of this object by a position time graph. Now it is also called a xt graph. For motion along the x-axis, say a straight line, we only have x coordinates. So we simply call it the xt graph instead of the position time graph. If an object is say stationary at time t equal to 0, let's say the object was 40 meters away from you, and at every instant after that it continued to be 40 meters. So the time is moving ahead, but the object remains where it was at 40 meters. Correct? So the graph here of a stationary object is a line parallel to the time axis. On a xt graph, a line parallel to the time axis indicates that the object is at rest. Now, if an object is moving along a straight line and covers equal distances in equal intervals of time, what does it mean? Uniform speed. Then it is supposed to be in uniform motion. And how is the xt graph? The xt graph is a straight line and it makes a certain angle, any angle to the time axis. Now let's come to the concepts of average velocity and average speed. When an object is in motion, its position changes with time. But how fast is this position changing with time and in what direction? These are the questions that we must now answer. To describe this, we will define a quantity called the average velocity. The average velocity is defined as the change in position or the displacement, that's delta x, divided by the time interval delta t in which time this displacement has happened. So the average velocity v bar, the bar on top indicates average velocity, is equal to final position minus initial position x2 minus x1 divided by initial final time minus initial time t2 minus t1. On the numerator we have change in position delta x and the denominator I have change in time delta t. So average velocity is displacement over time interval. x2 and x1 are positions of the object and t2 and t1 are times. The SI unit for velocity is meter per second. It is sometimes written as meters, bar, slash and second, but the correct scientific way is meters per second, s raised to minus 1, which indicates s is at the denominator. Now let us consider the motion of a car, which I will now describe. A car starts from rest at time t equal to 0 seconds from the origin. This is the origin. The speed increases. So I have a speed increasing up to what time? Up to 10 seconds. And after 10 seconds, the speed remains uniform. What did we say earlier? Uniform speed means the graph is a straight line. And increasing speed, the graph has an increasing slope. And at 18 seconds, brakes are applied. And after the brakes are applied, the speed drops. Correct? And ultimately, it stops at time t equal to 20 seconds. You see, beyond this, the graph is parallel to the time axis. It shows a stationary object. That means the car has come to rest at t equal to 20. Now at t equal to 20, if I have t equal to 20, and at this intersection of the graph and time axis, if I have a line drawn perpendicular to the position axis. So what do I get here? The distance traveled by the car, which is 296 meters. The xt graph I have just explained to you for whatever situation was described. From time t equal to 0 to 10 seconds, the graph is a curve and increasing slope indicating increase in speed. From time 10 seconds to 18 seconds, I told you it is a straight line, means constant speed. From time 18 to 20, it is a curve with decreasing slope, means decreasing speed. And from time 20 onwards, it is a straight line parallel to time axis, means speed is 0. Now, we will zoom into this, some portion of this graph between t equal to 0, between t equal to 0 and t equal to 8. This is a curved graph, isn't it? So we want to see more in detail what is happening here, where the velocity is increasing. Here we go. Now that same graph I have zoomed here. Okay. Now we can see if I join time 5 seconds and time 7 seconds. Now if I drop from this point perpendicular at 5 seconds, if I drop a perpendicular from P2, it comes to 7 seconds. Now if I drop a perpendicular onto the position axis, let us say it cuts at 10, and here from P2, if I drop a perpendicular, let us say it cuts the perpendicular at 27.4. So between these two positions, the time is 7 minus 5, that is 2 seconds. And the distance traveled is 27.4 minus 10. Now let us see this. So what is the average velocity? Average velocity is x2 minus x1, 27.4 minus 10. And what is the time interval? 7 minus 5. So what is that? That is equal to 8.7 meters per second. This is the average velocity. Geometrically, now there is a straight line, dotted line. Do you see it here? P1 to P2. It is the slope of this line, P1, P2. You must note that the velocity at every point between P1 and P2 is not the average velocity. At every point, the velocity is increasing slowly, slowly, slowly up to P2. So what we get is not the instantaneous velocity at each point on the graph. It is the average velocity between 2 points. Now the average velocity can be positive or negative depending on which direction the car is moving, whether it is going to the right from the origin or going to the left from the origin. Now, here are some typical XT graphs which are important also from your examination point of view, small short questions. Here is an XT graph. What does it show? It shows a constant positive velocity. Now, here is another XT graph. What does it show? Does it show decreasing velocity? Don't make that mistake. This is position and this is time. So a straight line at an angle to t always shows a constant velocity. Only thing is, this constant velocity is in the negative direction. So it is a negative constant velocity. Now, what is this line parallel to the time axis? It shows zero velocity. The object is at rest. The average velocity takes into consideration only the displacement based on initial and final position, P1 and P2. the magnitude of the displacement may be different from the path length. Path length can be more. The rate of motion over this path is called the average speed. If you have not understood it here, we'll see it a little more detail. Don't worry. Average speed is the total path length divided by the total time. Average speed is the total path length divided by the total time. And speed is a scalar quantity. It has no direction. Now let us take a small question. The question is, a car is moving along a straight line, say from O to P. It moves from O to P in 18 seconds and returns from P to Q in 6 seconds. Now the questions. What is the average velocity and average speed? We had discussed average velocity is displacement by dt and average speed is path length by dt. Now I want to know the average velocity and average speed in two situations. When the car is moving from O to P, and second, when the car is moving from O to P and up to Q. Now the average displacement in the first case, moving O to P, the displacement is 360 minus 0 divided by 18, 20 meters per second. And what is the distance traveled by the car path length? That is also 360. So average speed is path length by time. That is also 360 by 18. So both have velocity and average speed. Both are 20 meters per second. I have put a plus mark here to indicate the direction for velocity. But whereas in speed, being a scalar, I have not put any plus or minus sign. Now let us see the second situation. In the second situation, velocity is what? Displacement by time. The car moved from O to P and then to Q. So the final position is 240, initial was 0. So the displacement is 240 minus 0, 240. In which direction? Positive direction. And what is the time? It took 18 seconds plus 6 seconds, 24 seconds. So the velocity is 240 by 24. That is 10 meters per second. But now let us see what is the speed. The average speed is the total path length O to P 360 plus P to Q 120. So it is 360 plus 120 divided by the time. Correct? So this is different, isn't it? It is 20 meters per second. So in this case, the average velocity is not the same as the average speed. And did you notice something? The average speed will always be either equal to or more than the average velocity. In the first case, the displacement is equal to the path length, so the velocity and speed are equal. In the second case, displacement is less than the path length, hence magnitude of velocity is less than speed. The speed is always, as I told you, equal to or greater than velocity. Now, in this example, let us say a third situation. If the car goes from O to P in 18 seconds and then it comes back to O in again 18 seconds, then what would be the speed? The speed would be 360 plus 360. So path length is 360 plus 360. And what is the time taken? 18 this way and 18 this way. So it is 360 plus 360 divided by 18 plus 18. If you calculate that, you will see that it is 20 meters per second. What is this? Average speed. But let us say, what is the velocity? What is the initial position of the car? 0. It traveled all this distance, came back all this distance. What is the final position of car? Same. So what is the displacement? Displacement is 0. So if displacement is 0, what is the velocity? Velocity is also 0. In the next session, we will have a look at the concepts of instantaneous velocity and acceleration. Have you understood all that we have covered today? Please revise your lesson with your friends so it will be easy to understand the next lesson. Hope you enjoyed this session. I am looking forward to meet you the next time again. Thank you and all the best.